Nature is filled with examples of species that thrive in community. Honeybees, meerkats, chimpanzees, all of these species thrive because their capabilities as individuals are augmented by the capabilities of others in their group. Without social cooperation, it'd be a struggle merely for any one of them to survive. The same is true in human society, of course. I hate to think what might happen to me if I found myself alone on some deserted island. And not just because I'd be lonely. I'm not stupid, but if I had to grow my own food, build my own shelter, make my own clothing, I think my life expectancy would be pretty short. Fortunately for me, I live in a human community. So despite my own limitations, I live in a comfortable home. I never go hungry, and I have a closet full of clothes. But unlike animals who rely primarily on instinct to coordinate their roles and responsibilities, human cooperation is based on our deliberate choices. After considering our options and their potential consequences, we humans must choose when, how, and for whom we will act. Whether these individual choices produce effective teamwork depends to a large extent on the economic system that prevails in our society. Historically, economic systems based on private property, free markets, the profit motive, and a limited role for government have led to a much more productive form of human cooperation than those based on central planning and government control. In general, the more economic freedom its members have, the better the economic outcomes in that society. In an economically free society, individuals are free to engage in the peaceful use of their own property. Thomas Jefferson provided an eloquent description of this limited government in this way: "A wise and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread that it has earned." In practice, no government lives up to the Jeffersonian ideal, but some come closer than others. The Fraser Institute is a Canadian think tank that publishes an annual report on the economic freedom of the world. They evaluate each country's policies and combine them into a single rating they call the Economic Freedom Index. So let's compare the economic performance of the country they rank as the most free, Singapore, with the least free, Venezuela. When it first gained its independence in 1965, Singapore was among the world's poorest countries. Real annual income per person was only about $3,000 in today's money. But Singapore's leadership prioritized wealth creation over redistribution, and today, Singapore's income per person has risen to $66,000, and its citizens enjoy one of the highest living standards in the world. Maybe it should change its name to Singa-Rich. Unlike Singapore, which has no natural resources to speak of, Venezuela was blessed with some of the world's most productive oil reserves. It also had a head start on its economic development, with an income per person in 1965 about 4 times higher than Singapore's. Despite these advantages, its living standards have barely budged over the period. And it's only about $15,000 per person today, only 1/4 that of Singapore. Of course, a direct comparison between countries as different as Singapore and Venezuela is difficult. Ideally, we'd like to run a controlled experiment in which we apply different economic systems to otherwise identical groups. The closest thing we have to such an experiment happened in Germany after World War II, when the country was split in two. The West adopted a system that provided a high level of economic freedom, while the East followed the path of central planning and government control. The gap between living standards in East and West, already evident before the war, widened rapidly afterward. The West German economy experienced a period of rapid economic development, which historians have named the Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle. East Germany stagnated by comparison. As a result, they experienced a brain drain as many people from the East migrated to take advantage of the economic opportunity and relative freedom of the West. The problem was so urgent that East German authorities constructed a wall through the middle of Berlin. They posted armed sentries with orders to shoot to kill its own citizens who attempted to cross over to the other side. Still, many East Germans risked their lives and liberty to attempt it. When that wall was torn down spontaneously by people on both sides in 1989, the new unified country chose to follow the economically free system of the West. Something similar happened in the Korean Peninsula after the Korean War, with economic freedom in the South and government control in the North. Unfortunately for North Korea, that country is still divided, and the difference in living standards between the two countries can easily be seen in this satellite image of the Korean Peninsula at night. Can you tell where the border is? So the case that economic freedom produces faster economic growth and higher living standards is well documented. What is less well known, but equally well documented, is the link between economic freedom and other outcomes important to human flourishing. In the most economically free countries, poverty rates are much lower than in the least free. The incomes of poor people in the most free countries is about 10 times higher than poor people in the least free countries. Those countries with the most economic freedom also have lower infant mortality rates, more gender equality, and stronger civil rights. Literacy and education rates are higher, and perhaps most importantly, self-reported life satisfaction is higher. When it comes to organizing human cooperation and making it more productive, the record is clear. Economic freedom works.